The SatoshiAlien will help you understand technology and cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and believe you like it. The SatoshiAlien will help you understand investments and make money, so come listen to the aliens guidance. Listen to the
Here at Out of This World Podcast, we are not financial advisors. We cannot give financial advice. Everything we say is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Please do not follow anything we say. Do your own research and understand we cannot give financial advice. Thank you and enjoy the show, guys. Yo, this is SatoshiAlien and welcome to the Out of This World Podcast, brought to you by
your advertisement.
Your advertisement here. All right, guys, so if you have any questions, please reach out to us, SatoshiAlien@gmail.com. I don't know if you guys remember Tech TV, but there was a show called Call for Help, and that gave me the idea to do this show. So Call for Help was a show that when you would call up, you could get technical support questions answered live on camera, right? You could message them, email them, and they would walk you through whatever you needed. So if you have trouble with crypto things, right? If you don't know how to send things to your ledger, if you are having trouble migrating a token, we can help you out. I mean, we're not going to, manage your portfolio for you. We're not going to tell you if, something, we'll tell you if we think something's a scam. But
we'll try to save you money if we could, definitely.
Yeah. But we'll tell you if we don't agree with your decision. You could argue with us, that's fine too. But ultimately, if you need some help, shoot us an email.
Yeah, book recommendations, whatever you need, we're here. Just talk to us. We just can't give you financial advice, and that's all.
Exactly. You look good.
I know. I got the haircut.
Sounds good. Yeah, the black T-shirt. I'm liking it. I like it.
I got the poster, right? X-Files. I want to believe. It's perfect.
Yeah. No, it really is. And the contrast of the black shirt, the purple background stands out. It's nice.
Good. I think we have a good show, man. I'm excited.
Me too. We're both on the SatoshiAlien Twitter.
Yeah.
Most of the stock and equities is tweeted by Frank. I do some of them, but mostly the Bitcoin stuff is mostly me, the cryptocurrency stuff, and also like technology trends.
That's all you. And you're the big meat eater, and I actually live like a 95% plant-based life because my wife's a vegetarian.
You really?
Yeah.
I didn't know your wife was a vegetarian.
I basically eat meat whenever I order food in because I'm not going to cook a steak for just me because it's too much work, unless I'm craving steak.
It's so easy. That's why I love steak.
Yeah, but then I have to get like 3-4 pans out. I got to make my wife's dinner. I got to make my dinner.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Okay, that's a difference.
So I really eat meat, right?
So when did you first start trading?
So I think I got my start primarily my senior year of college, where my theology professor at the time was someone I knew from high school. He actually was my religion teacher in the high school I went to, and I went to a Catholic school. So I got like my health.
Yeah, we went to high school together.
Right. Like people don't know that, but we actually know each other from when we were like 13, 14 years old. Oh man, the things dumb kids do. I remember being at a house party actually with your ex-girlfriend at the time in high school. We were in the Bronx. I'm not going to name her name. And this kid that was driving home with me, he picks up this random brick. He goes into the car with it. And we live in the same neighborhood. I have to get home. I'm not friends with him, but I have to get home. And he takes this brick and literally as we're driving away, throws it through a windshield. And I just look at him and I don't want to get thrown out of the car because I need a ride. We're in the Bronx. I live in Queens. But I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you?
Who the hell did you get a ride from?
Dude, I'm not going to mention.
Off air?
We'll talk off air, but that was the one car ride where I'm like, but no, you do dumb things at a young age.
Yeah, like not get into Bitcoin.
And not investing. I think the best thing, if you're 18 and you have a job, save your money, don't waste it, invest, learn how to invest, and create wealth. You don't need to make money today for tomorrow. You need to create wealth. You need to be wealthy in 10 years. That's the reality.
Yeah, exactly.
And my professor, I'm not going to name his name because I don't think it's fair to him, but he was at the end of his career and he didn't really care anymore. And he kind of just spent most of his time talking about stocks during his lectures, right? It's
nice.
2011. So the market is basically in the early stages of the post-Great Financial Crisis bull run. And he's going on and on every day. You know, I bought Ford at $2. I bought Saks Fifth Avenue. You guys got to get invested. This is the best time. And I was like, I never really listened to that stuff before, but I was like, okay. I went home. I opened up an E-Trade account.
There's nothing like studying finance in religion class.
Right. Like here's God and here's, money.
Yeah.
And these are two ideas that theoretically should conflict with each other, right? You don't talk about religion and politics and money, but he made it work. And I went home, I opened up an E-Trade account, and I bought a couple of stocks. I think my first purchase, I bought some Ford because he was talking about it. I'm like, yeah, sure, Ford. Why not? I bought Citibank because it was like $3. And then I bought Tiffany's because I was like, oh, Tiffany's, rich people like to spend money. And ironically, I had like a double in Tiffany's, like right off the bat.
Oh, wow.
I had no clue what I was doing. And then Citibank had a reverse split, and that confused the crap out of me because I went from having like a $3 average to like a $30 average and less money now. And I was like, what's the deal with that? But I went with it. Then I joined Twitter.
So did you know how to read a chart?
No, I knew nothing. Right?
Nice.
I was blind buying. I was basically doing what you should never do. Right? So
how did you do DD back then? Did you look online? Did you look on websites?
No. I looked around me and I said, what companies do I see every day? And I was like, okay, I'll buy stock in that.
There's no Wall Street bets back then, huh?
And I came across a couple of people on Twitter that were into like stocks. And then I came across some day traders. I'm like, well, yeah, I want to day trade. I would love to make $1,000 a day. And that's what happened to me, right? Like I came across Timothy Sykes, this penny stock legend who turned $10 into $20 million. I'm like, yeah, that's what I want. And then I realized that's all BS. Like you can make money.
Oh, of course.
I don't want to take that away. But it didn't work for me. And then I came across Investors Underground, which I think if you want to be a day trader is the place you should start. Because I actually learned how to read a chart. I learned how to think. I learned how to have the process. But the one thing you don't learn.
How long did it take you to do that or go through the process? Would you say?
I think I'm still learning it nowadays too, right? 10 years later. It's something you always develop. I was very raw with my ability to like see a chart, but at least like I was putting it together. But the one thing I couldn't put together was emotions, right? And Nate, who's Investors Live.
Emotions in terms of your emotions or
mine, right? Like I didn't even think about investment sentiment and all that stuff. I didn't even know what that meant, right? And then as I was listening to Nate talk in his nightly webinars, his nightly videos, Investors Live, I was starting to get like a little bit of the process of sentiment and of thinking, right? I still couldn't get over beating myself up and saying, why didn't I buy this stock? It just went up $10 or whatever. And I wound up getting very emotional. And I wasn't doing what he was telling me to do.
FOMO.
Right, exactly. And Nate's he's a great teacher, and he was big on scale in, scale out. I was 22. I didn't want to scale in, scale out. I wanted to make $1,000 in 15 minutes, And I had a decent sized account, and I had 10-to-1 margin. It was like amazing, right? Or 6-to-1, whatever it was.
They gave you a 10-to-1 margin at 22 years old?
Because they don't care.
Real income?
Right. They don't care. They just want to make money. So I was going crazy buying 1,000 shares at a time, and I was buying market orders, right? I wasn't buying, a limit. I wasn't waiting. I wasn't sweeping the ask. I was just like, give me whatever I can get. And it backfired so badly, right? I would get up at like 9:15, right, in the morning. 9:30 would come around and be like, I'm going to buy Facebook today. And then I would buy it right at the open.
Is that because you logged into Facebook or because
Probably.
You felt like, hey, you know what? Today's the day.
Probably, right? I don't think Facebook had IPO'd in 2011. I think it was a little bit later, but it was the same idea, right? It was like, oh, I'm using this, or I heard someone talk about this, I'm going to buy it. And it didn't work, right? Because I had no plan. I had no process. And I blew up my first account. And then I got a job, made some money. And I'm talking like a menial job.
The dangerous thing, I would say, is if it did work, right? If you just started making money doing that at 22 years old, let's say you turned that account like 10x, right? How much money would that be, would you say?
6 figures, at least.
Right? Okay, so you had that money, 22 years old. You probably don't end up a successful investor in the long run.
At that age, because think about it. For me to go at 22 from, let's say, 1,000 to 100,000, or 10,000 to 100,000, and for me to do that in a quick time span, that means I'm YOLOing it nonstop. I'm like all in on every single trade, and that's probably the worst process ever, right? Compounding is amazing, but you need to have a process, and I didn't have one. So I got a job, kind of took a break a little bit, but I was still watching the videos, still studying as much as I could. And then I got back into it when I had some more money into the account. And then I blew it again, right? Because I still couldn't get over the emotional attachment to trading. My psychology was a wreck.
What were some of the big differences between the two times, would you say? Would you say you improved at all?
I think the difference would be I had an idea how to create a game plan, right? So in the beginning, I had no game plan. Second time around, I knew how to make a game plan. I didn't know how to follow a game plan because I would get emotional and I wasn't scaling in and scaling out. I was still going full size. The difference is now I was buying on a limit order instead of a market order, right? But I just couldn't put together the process correctly. And I blew that account up. And then I'll tell you the truth, I took a break for a couple of years and I missed a great bull run, right? Because if I had just bought Apple or Google in 2011, or if I bought Netflix when it got beat up, and I just waited and I just invested and held, I would have a ton of money.
Or you bought Bitcoin.
Right. And then I came across Bitcoin, right? And this is the craziest part to me. I came across Bitcoin not on CNBC for the first time, not on Twitter, but on a message board for sneakers.
What?
Right? Yeah. And some guy made a post and was like, "Oh, you guys should check out Bitcoin." And I'm like, "The hell's a Bitcoin?" So I Googled it.
Was he selling sneakers for Bitcoin at the time?
Basically, yeah. And then ironically, CNBC picked it up because that's when Bitcoin came out of nowhere. It hit like 250 and then it went to like 1,000. And I was like, "Oh, this is cool."
So we're talking like 2014?
Kind of, yeah, around that time. And I looked into it, but I was like, now people are buying drugs with this. Silk Road, you can buy a hitman. How do I even? And I backed away, right? Because it seemed shady and I didn't understand it. I didn't know who Satoshi Nakamoto was. I didn't know what a white paper was. And I avoided it, right? Then a couple years later, I'm on that same message board because I have nothing else to do with my time, right? I blew up my second account. I'm done with stocks. I have a menial job. And I come across it again. I'm like, people are still doing Bitcoin? Like that's real? And Bitcoin was around 750 at the time. And I was like, that's expensive though, 750. I started price anchoring because I was in the mindset of Bitcoin used to be 250. I don't want to pay 750. And I didn't buy it. And then it kept going up. This was like 2017, I believe, right? When that bull market was first, starting. And then Bitcoin hit like 1,000, hit like 2,000. I'm like, okay, there might be something here. And then someone on that message board mentioned Ethereum. I'm like, Ethereum? Okay, what's that? And it was $80. And I'm like, okay, $80. I can afford that. I can buy a couple of coins. But I had just moved into my house. I had, I wanted to get engaged with my wife. And I didn't want to put big money into it because I didn't know anything about it. So I bought like 2 Ethereum, tokens. And I just let's go, let's have some fun. And then that's how I came across you again, because we didn't talk for a couple of years after, college, really.
I mean, we spoke, but I wouldn't say we spoke to the level that we're speaking right now.
Right.
Yeah. So I ran into you on Telegram. So why were you on Telegram? What brought you there?
Well, what brings anybody to Telegram, right? Crypto. And on that message board, altcoins started getting hot. And we were all like, oh, altcoins, I got to get them. So I was like, okay, what altcoins?
Yeah, the notorious, awesome mistake that everybody makes. Let me go and try to find the next Bitcoin.
Exactly. Right. And that's what I did. And Telegram was was part of that process. And I was on fire, dude. When I didn't make money the first 2 times around in trading and investing, I was making up for it, right? I would buy Civic at 10 cents. It would double the next day. I'd sell half, and then I'd buy Stellar Lumens. That would double. I'd buy Tron, and I was just killing it. Everything I touched doubled, tripled, quadrupled overnight. Right?
You couldn't make a wrong move in that environment. I distinctly remember texting you in a pizzeria, looking at Binance and looking at every single coin.
Right.
One was down 5%. Everything else was up. So I immediately bought that coin down 5% because my strategy was, hey, eventually it'll probably go up because everything's going up anyway.
Right.
And it did go up, and I made a little bit of money off that trade.
And it was
I have no idea what token it was or what it did or anything.
No. And the best part was I would be at work on my lunch break, and I would be reading these white papers, and I'm like, oh, this is IOTA. This is going to change the world forever. Right? The tangle. I love the tangle. I want a tangle. And I would go all in because at that point I was making good money, but people were becoming millionaires.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need to get to that point. I need to be a millionaire.
You need a Lambo. We all need Lambos.
Right. Lambo or bust, right? So I would buy all in, and I wouldn't sell half at a double. I wouldn't take a target at 10%. I would just keep doing it. And it was working really well, right? Litecoin was at like $300. ETH was at 1,000. Ripple, I bought Ripple at 25 cents, sold it at $1. I came out early, but that hit $3. You know, it was so easy. And then I got
it was too easy. Yeah. And we didn't really think about why is this so easy. We just thought like, look at us, we're so smart. Found the next big thing. And now here we are, and we're going to enjoy the benefits of this as the next generation taking over, you know, and taking Bitcoin's spot.
Right. And I remember I kept telling you, and I was like, this is nothing like the .com bubble yet. We got so much more room to go. And I bought VeChain, and then VeChain ran to like $8 or $10. I was up like 20 grand. And I'm like, oh, this is great. Let's go for 100 grand. And then a month later, VeChain gets cut in half. A month after that, VeChain gets cut in half again. Then it's like, they're going to mainnet. Mainnet is coming. I'm like, yeah, mainnet. I'm going to make even more money. I'll stay.
All these are selling before the mainnet launches? Are they crazy? Once mainnet launches, I mean, that's it. It's over.
Right. You're going to be able to track your Louis Vuitton bag and make sure it's legit.
Yeah.
And then VeChain went to like zero. Right? I couldn't sell.
No, it's still around, right?
Yeah,
probably still around doing something.
I think they made it come back a little bit.
I mean, like pretty much every single coin went up. I mean, some didn't, right? But like for the most part in this environment, like if they were around a year ago and now they're here, they're probably up a little bit at least.
Yeah. So I wound up losing all my money, and I straight up capitulated at the lows. Like I sold out at the lows for pennies on the dollar, right? I went up from being up 20 grand to losing everything completely. Because when you're making money, you start putting more money into it.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. And then
you gotta get richer faster.
Exactly.
Too long.
Exactly. And then one day my wife asked me to drive her to the dentist's office, and her dentist was like really slow. He takes like 2-3 hours. So I was just hanging out in my car, right? Had the radio on. And I was like, let me see if there's any airdrops. Because remember, airdrops were becoming a big thing too.
Oh, yeah. Hey, man, we got a nice airdrop this year too.
Yeah, Uniswap gave us more money than the United States government. How about that one? So I find this airdrop for mainframe token, MFT. And they were like, okay, if you want
They were just called mainframe token?
Yeah. And like, I think they were all about encrypted messaging or something like that.
Okay.
And in the bio of the airdrop, they're like, write to us. Tell us why you want to, receive this airdrop. Send us a picture or send us a story. Send us something. So I'm sitting in the parking lot of this dentist office. It's like 5:00 at night. It's dark out because it's kind of like the winter. And I'm like, okay, screw it. I like to write. I wrote a poem. I wrote like this 8-line poem, right? Nothing crazy.
So essentially you wrote a haiku.
Yeah, exactly, right?
I mean, haiku is 5 to 7 though. I messed that one up.
But it doesn't matter, right? It's all the same.
Okay.
It's literature, right? It's poetry. Rules are meant to be broken. So I write this poem in 15 minutes. I submit it. I never hear back from them because, why would you? It's probably a scam. I capitulate the lows. I forget all about crypto. We actually stopped messaging each other for a while because we had nothing to say. Bitcoin is like dead. ETH is dead.
Wait, we didn't. I had plenty to say still. I just was away from my phone for a little bit.
Yeah, you had something to say. You're right. I
We,
had
yeah,
nothing.
we had a little group chat going, and after about a couple months or so, I finally had access to my phone again. I looked at it, and I noticed that nobody had said anything in the group chat the entire duration of while I didn't have my phone.
There
I
was
thought it
nothing to
was very
say.
surprising.
Crypto is dead. And then one day I'm on that message board and I click the Bitcoin thread because I'm like, okay, screw it. And I see someone talking about how Binance just listed this token MFT. And I'm like, MFT? Wait a minute. I think I had that airdrop. Like, let me check. So I go my Ether wallet and I see that they airdropped me 150,000 tokens. And I'm like, are you kidding me? What? So I go, I run in, I send it straight to Binance, and it's like worth like a penny or a couple or a nickel. I don't remember, but I wound up making like $8,000 off it.
Nice.
And it actually brought me to break even on the year after blowing all my money, right? And I thought that was the greatest thing ever. And I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm never going to touch crypto again. And then a couple of months go by, maybe a year. I don't remember exactly. And I'm sitting there in the bathroom at 5 o'clock in the morning, getting ready to go to work. And I'm like, let me download Coinbase. Let me just see what's going on. And I see ETH at $80. And I'm like, okay, it's cheap. And then that's how everything gets started again, right?
Yep.
I start messaging you again. And, that's basically where we end up today.
Yeah, man, I never left. I kind of stuck around. Had to know why this happened and like what it was about. There was no way that we went through this whole bubble process and there was nothing and it was just a giant scam. Obviously, we definitely fell for scams along the way.
Definitely. Oh yeah.
Bitcoin itself, I think if we knew about Bitcoin and like took the time to learn about it when we first got into it, we could have avoided every single scam.
Yeah.
That was put upon us.
Because a lot of those OGs, right? They were telling me, you got to stack sats. Forget what you can get in fiat. You got to get more Bitcoin. I'm like, nah, screw that. I want to get rich. I want to be a millionaire. And if I would have stuck to their process.
Bitcoin is Bitcoin. It's Bitcoin for a reason. And the next Bitcoin is going to be Bitcoin, right?
Yeah. So how'd you stumble across Telegram, Bitcoin, crypto? I mean, because that origin story for everybody, I think, is so unique and interesting. What brought you to it?
What brought me to Bitcoin? So I first started getting interested in investing and finance when I was really young, before I even could. Honestly, I was obsessed with Tech TV as a little kid. Used to watch it 24/7. Screensavers, Call for Help, Extended Play, all that stuff. And they had this news show, and I remember I would watch it, and there would be tickers. And over time, I just started memorizing different companies and the tickers. So I'd see Ford, and I'd memorize it, and then I'd see it again, the following week or the following day, and I remember like wondering, why do these things keep increasing? And I understood that people were making a lot of money and getting rich off of it, but I didn't really understand why, and nobody around me could explain it to me because they didn't understand it either. But flash forward, when I turned 18, my aunt set me up with a Scottrade account.
Scottrade, I forgot about them. That's right.
Yeah, $5 for a trade, and it was like,
yes,
back then you were like,
that was
no commission, just $5.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I was paying $10 a trade at E-Trade.
And there were times where I'd have to go to Scottrade because there were branches, and I'd like sign stuff, and I'd feel like I'd be like 21 years old, like, wow, look at me.
Yep,
I'm an adult.
Meanwhile, all the rich people are taking your money.
Yeah, of course. So basically, I had that account, and then just 2008 happens, like immediately. So I watched that account much get evaporated. Yeah.
Amazing.
Around that time too, we had the presidential election in 2008, and I got super into Ron Paul.
I remember.
Yes.
And the Fed.
Exactly. Yeah, I started buying all of his books. Foreign Policy of Freedom, Revolution, all that. And, everything he said in Congress, and I just could not get enough Ron Paul for this span of my life. And I remember I pretty much was into it up until like the Tea Party happened, and then like once people start dressing up, man, it brings me back like bad memories of Catholic school and people dressed up funny. And so once I see that, I'm like, all right, man, I'm out. But before that happened, I remember being on some Liberty forums and stuff like that, and I'd see Bitcoin, you know, people mentioning it, talking about it. And that's when I first really like heard about it. And it was really nothing back then. And I just kind of basically ignored it because, I mean, that's what everybody does in the beginning if you're a rational person. There's no way you hear the idea of Bitcoin in the beginning and you're like, wow, yeah, great idea.
You need to be a hacker or like a computer person to even understand it back then, you know?
Well, I mean, I'm just saying the first time.
Yeah.
First time you hear about it, you're like, get out of here. Like that's, oh yeah, internet money, or that's gonna work. Yeah. Okay. You know, but so after the Ron Paul thing, I sort of like bounced around a little bit, and then I didn't hear about Bitcoin for a while until college. A friend of mine would buy pot, right? And so we'd go see the pot dealer. He was a nice guy. And basically he was getting all his pot from Silk Road, and he was ordering it to campus. And he was shipping it over in a DHL envelope. And you rip it open, and hey, look, I got an ounce of weed for you guys. You know, and that's just what it was. And he told me, like, he was using this thing, Bitcoin, and I thought that was interesting. But, you know, the guy was kind of weird. You know, one day we go to meet up with him in his apartment, and he opens the door, and he's like, come in, guys. So we go in. You know, he's like, we look, and there's 4 dudes on the couch, and they're just kind of like staring off into the abyss. Like, they really did not even acknowledge that we had just walked into the room. So I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, we're just doing brain busters. Brain busters.
What's a brain buster?
Cocaine with gunpowder.
What the hell?
Try it? It's like, I'm okay. Thank you. So, yeah, so I'm not going to, like, listen to that guy about pretty much anything.
Right, why would you?
Probably, I mean, I hope he's doing well. Who really knows, right?
God willing, right.
So, yeah, I didn't hear about Bitcoin for a while until 2017. And in the mania and everything, I kind of got swept up in it. And I was in Telegram, and I saw you joined, and then, boom, we both managed to link up and realize we were in crypto.
Yeah. And you know what? Even though I didn't come out of that bull run with any money, I came out with so much knowledge. The first 2 times I blew up, I barely learned anything, right? When I blew up that time, I actually knew what it was like to make money, and I knew what it was like to lose money. And the wisdom I came up with within that short run, because it was like a year, it wasn't a long bull run, really. I equated to like being in Dragon Ball Z when they go in that hyperbolic chamber to like quickly get trained so they can beat Perfect Cell, and they like spend a year training in 15 minutes, you know?
Well, I remember getting into it in like really like November of 2015. But I remember like thinking back on it from November to like January felt like about 3 years.
Yes.
What was happening.
Big time. It was crazy. And to me, what I learned there, I think is what's made me I don't want to say I'm very successful as an investor because I want to stay humble and I can always get better.
Well, let's put it like this. If you lost 50% of your portfolio right now, right? Would you be fine with it? Would you be okay? Would you walk away in profit? How would it go?
I would still be up at least 20%, and that's amazing, right?
Of course.
Right? So it's a crazy year. And it's been amazing, right? I'm just clicking buttons and I'm getting lucky. And I'm going to be honest. I feel confident in my process and my perspective is good. I definitely can do this consistently, you know, investing wise. I don't think I'm as good as my portfolio is showing me every day though, where I buy something in literally 15 minutes to an hour to a day max, I'm up 5%. That's nuts to me. And I think people need to be very careful right now because you go on TikTok investors, you go on Wall Street bets, you're seeing people making all this money with no knowledge. And I worry about them because they
have plenty of knowledge. The stock is going up, so I buy some.
Right.
And then when I see that it's like probably not going to go up anymore, then I sell it. And that's how I'm paying for my lifestyle.
Right. I look bottom left, and then I sell my top right, and then I'm done. I'm done for the day. And it's just
Really, I don't even know why people have regular jobs. You know, you just download the Robinhood app. They pay you to download it.
I know.
And
Yeah,
that's
free
it.
stuff. And it's everything that happened on Friday with GameStop really makes me pause and become concerned. I actually put on some hedges on Friday.
What
I bought some
happened with
hedges.
GameStop for those that don't know?
So Wall Street Bets has been buying GameStop since Michael Burry bought it at like $3, and they've been pushing it. And they're like, "We all got to get into GameStop. This is going to be huge." And then it kind of did nothing.
It's
And then
gonna be
GameStop
huge?
had a couple of earnings reports where they showed really strong e-commerce growth, and like private equity kind of got involved a little bit, and they were like, "We're going to close some stores in the future, and we're going to focus on selling computer parts, graphic cards, gaming equipment, and we're going to change our business model." And Wall Street Bets went nuts. They like started buying
What?
crazily, right?
Bitcoin mining rigs? Huh?
It kind of sounds like it, right? And it hit like $30, $40, and then Citron came out, and they're like, "GameStop's going back to 20. You guys are crazy." And these dudes at Wall Street Bets, they somehow figured out how to take Andrew Leff down, and they squeezed him all the way to like $70.
Jeez.
Within an hour. Like it was like out of nowhere. And that's crazy to me. That scares the crap out of me because, all right, Citron's a bit of a joke.
So you can look at it as like, yeah, you know, it's scary that they were able to do that, but isn't it also like, hey, man, power to retail? You know, like maybe could win a little bit. Why not?
And you know what? There's no better face for the losing side than Andrew Leff, who has screwed over retail many times, right?
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it just shows you the euphoria of this market, right?
Wouldn't that be an interesting trend if that would just continue to play out, where like people using social media are able to really just, and they've been successful at it, you know, in a lot of different names, but just squeezing out all these stocks and just embarrassing these big fund managers. That would be interesting.
And I honestly, I think it's starting to happen. eToro, right? SoFi. Social finance is becoming a real thing. Futu and Tiger in China, they're all social finance. Robinhood. That's becoming a thing where it's like, I see Zach is buying these stocks. I'm going to buy these stocks with Zach. And now everyone's piling into it because you're a good trader and I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm going to do what you do. And it becomes this huge snowball effect.
And it's so easy to do that too.
Yeah.
You know, if you see somebody's on fire, they're doing really well, you put a little bit of money in, you start making money, then, you know, sure enough, you know, you're following their calls. And when they get it wrong, you're going to get it wrong too.
Yeah.
It's kind of like going to work every day and, you know, getting your paycheck. You know, you're relying on your job for your income. The whole point of being a trader is to rely on yourself.
Yeah. And
why would you really want to even follow somebody's advice? I mean, if they have a good pick and they have a good system, definitely follow it, but develop your own system.
Exactly.
That's the most important thing, because that's what's going to make or break you in the long run.
Right. So I'm a big fan of CML Pro, right? I look at Ophir Gottlieb as a mentor because I've learned a lot from him the past couple of years. And I won't lie, I buy most of the top picks he lists, but I buy them and then I read the research report before I buy it, number one, and I synthesize, right? And I make sure it's something I still want to own, right? And there's been a couple of times where I sold stocks he recommended and they worked and I lost money. That happens. But I never buy blindly because no matter who you are, you're capable of making mistakes. And
were there ever times where he suggested something and you didn't buy it and it didn't go up?
Honestly, PagerDuty and Slack for a while were duds, and then they exploded and doubled. So, you know, you got to have time. He has a 5-year timeline. Like everything he buys for 5 years from now. And I do believe in his process, right? And
I mean, a 5-year timeline is not a bad idea. I mean, just talking about how we were speaking about if we got in investing with a smart mind, right? We would have bought these things in 2011 and held on to them, held on to quality, held on to Apple, held on to the Facebook, instead of trying to trade it and come in thinking we're suddenly day traders.
Right. And I mean, listen, I bought Livongo Health at $44 last year, and I was trading it all the way to 160. And I never did the math, but I do wonder if I just bought it at 44 and then just kept buying it, dollar cost averaging into it throughout the year, if I would have made more money. I probably would have.
Probably, if depending on the taking the profits, because the tax implications,
Yeah.
that's when you're going to run into issues.
Yep. And that tax bill I got to deal with now because of that, it's
Yeah.
going to hurt me. It's going to hurt me. So I think you need that 5-year perspective. I think you need to realize that you make more money as an investor than you do as a trader in your first few years. If you're at the level of Investors Live and Odd Stock Trader and Modern Rock, these amazing traders who've been doing it for 20 years or 10 years, they take time to get to that level. And it takes a lot of money to get to that level.
Yeah.
You don't become that
So
guy that makes
what I like to call it is, you need to pay tuition. At the end of the
Exactly.
day, you're paying tuition to the market so you can learn from the market. And
Exactly.
pay your dues. If you don't blow up an account or two, then you're not going to have a system. You're not going to have a system of risk management. You're going to be at risk for doing the same thing and making the same mistakes over and over.
Yep. And it's scary right now. And I worry about a lot of these people who have no process. And my big thing is you need to create conviction to deal with market volatility. And my recipe for conviction is very simple, right? Understanding what you own, understanding why you bought it, and understanding what it could do. That helps you create conviction. And if you don't understand what you have no process and you have no perspective, right? If you want to get wealthy, it's conviction plus process plus time. That's the formula that gets you there, right? People don't want to do that. And that scares me right now.
Well, you know what? It's the process for anything is just really a grind. Whether it's working out, whether it's learning another language, whether it's learning an instrument, it's the grind. Trading is the same thing. You're not going to just suddenly be a genius. You got to work at it. You got to look at charts. You got to learn
Every day.
charts.
Yep.
More importantly, and then you have to come up with a system of risk management that's good for you and your goals for the future.
Yeah. For me, I didn't learn how to read a chart as well as I do now right away. It took me years, and to a fault. I put too much time staring at them all day long to get good at it. And I bought Target a month ago, because I saw the chart and I knew it was going to rip up. I bought it like 170 to 174. I saw the kind of downward trend line forming, and I knew it was going to rip, and it did. I bought IIPR for the same chart pattern. I know it's a pattern. I said, Target just did this. It's going to happen too. I'll buy more.
So you're noticing a pattern because you've now spent years looking at charts.
Exactly.
And now you're starting to see the same things play out over and over. But really, step one is not looking at the chart and thinking that the chart is the playbook and this is exactly how it's going to go. And because things could set up and look great on a chart, and then it just completely goes the opposite direction.
Look at Fastly. It was doing great. It was on fire. It was like 136. I was up so much money. I was so over leveraged, so overweight Fastly, like with my biggest position. I didn't take any off of 136 because why would I? The chart looked amazing. There's no reason to sell. And then they pre-announced that TikTok dropped them because of the political issues, and that stock got cut in literally half. Killed me.
Yeah.
It killed me.
Nobody goes broke taking profits.
Never.
The best thing you can do is if you're buying when you feel like your stomach is wrenching.
Yep.
And you feel like, oh, I'm going to have to probably buy this lower. It's probably going to go lower, but I'm going to suck it up and just do it. Those are your best buys.
Yeah. And you know what?
You're selling and you're afraid it's going to keep going up and it's going to go up, to infinity. Well, listen, man, you got to sell a little bit.
Yeah.
Just have your plan, stick to your plan, because if it doesn't follow your plan, you're following your plan.
Exactly.
And that's going to save you from getting wrecked.
Yeah. And I have about 7 stocks that I have a core position in that I always keep on because I have that 5-year vision, and I'm confident as long as the earnings improves along the track. But then there's times where I might buy a little extra on a dip and then peel that off on a rip, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's stocks that I like. They have good fundamentals, good chart, but I don't like them to the point where I'm going to blind hold them forever. I like them to the point where I'm making money and I'm going to sell them at some point, right? And Jumia is one of them. I love Jumia as the idea. But let's be honest, Jumia is not making money. And they're a quarter or two at the best away. That's not a $56 stock. I love the company. They need to raise money right now. They need to kind of improve their growth a little bit more and take advantage of the situation. And I don't know how people are jumping into stocks like that without a process. It scares me.
Well, you were saying something interesting about Jumia, and they had like some sort of affiliate program, and you were saying that like some numbers got fudged.
Yeah, there was some FUD, some short report. Actually, I think Citron, Andrew Leff, was the main hitman for it. And there's like an affiliate program where like they would go to you and say, hey, why don't you buy something from this catalog from my company? And then
sounds very Herbalife-y.
Right. But then people said, you know what? If you tell me you're going to buy something, but you never actually buy it, we can write it down here and we both get a commission. And people started doing that. And, you know, they were going to get into serious trouble. Andrew Leff's hit piece was basically based on that idea. But then they got rid of the program. They changed it completely. And that is, I think, part of the process that legitimizes their business now. But there's still a long ways to go. I love Jumia as a logistics play more than as an e-commerce play, because Nigeria has basically very minimal infrastructure. People are still developing their areas. They didn't have addresses for a while. Jumia had to start putting like mailboxes in for them. And that's why I like them. But everyone thinks Jumia is the Amazon in Africa. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued by Nigeria. I know their median age of the population is like 14. Right?
Yeah.
It's like the youngest or one of the youngest countries on the planet. So
yeah.
To not be bullish just on that alone, I mean, not necessarily on Jumia, but I feel like if you have a young population, I'm probably going to be betting on you, right?
Yeah.
Be betting on the old people.
Because that's the future, right? And they're all about cell phones there, because we went from desktops to laptops to netbooks to iPhone. They went nothing to iPhone. So their learning curve is very different, and they're actually going to adapt faster than we do because we're old-minded. They don't know the old ways tech-wise. They only know the new one that's coming out.
It ties into crypto in a way, because crypto is a way to access banking services using a cell phone, right? And you have all of these places now, like you're saying, that are underdeveloped, and they've now skipped the steps of putting in infrastructure, putting in power lines, you know, building out a physical bank and roads to it. No, now you got a cell phone. And now you can send money to anyone, anywhere in the world on this network called Bitcoin.
And I don't need to worry about my currency being worthless, because I can take a shot on Bitcoin and maintain value at least. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think one of the best things about Bitcoin is store of value. And we don't really understand that living in the West. We have good money for the most part, right? We have US dollars here. US dollars are good store of value. I mean, they're slowly leaking value over time, and that, you know, trends accelerated, especially because of the events of late. But in the long run, when you put money into the bank, you're not really thinking about, I mean, you like years, yeah, but not in a week or two.
No, you lose 2% at most, you know,
exactly.
Of buying power.
Meanwhile, there's people who get paid and they immediately have to go to a store and buy bricks or buy something, right, that they can later sell for money to go and buy things. Because the money that they're getting paid with will not hold its value in a short time frame, like a week or two. So bricks or some other sort of commodity, actually physically custodying it yourself and keeping it in your home is safer and better in the long run for a store of value than actual physical money, which is bananas. And that's millions of people around the world. And then you're going to say Bitcoin has absolutely no use case?
It's a Ponzi scheme, bro. It's a Ponzi. Yeah.
So what stocks are you looking to play going forward?
So I think one thing in 2021 is I kind of rebalanced my portfolio a little bit to be a little bit more balanced. So I bought some large cap names. I became a big Target bull because I think Target Shipped is very under noticed and underrated. They bought the company for like $500
Did you buy something from Shipped today?
I do it all day. I got a microphone from Target Shipped today. It came in 90 minutes. I bought a salad. I bought salad mix. I bought soap, and I bought a microphone. And 90 minutes later, I got it.
That's awesome.
Listen, I don't go to the store because I don't want to get COVID. After COVID's done, I'm still not going to the store because they'll bring it to me in 2 hours. That's amazing, right?
Yeah.
But I like Target Shipped because it's growing very quickly. Obviously, still very small scale. and it's very underdeveloped, right? It was a $500 million purchase roughly. Instacart in October had a $17 billion valuation. If they came public today, probably 30, 40, 50 billion market cap. Wow. DoorDash has a $60 billion market cap, right? Target's market cap currently is $96 billion, not cheap, but that's as a retailer and an e-commerce play. I think Shipt, if they monetize it correctly, can add at least $10 billion to their market cap. And that's why I bought Target. That was my approach. I get a dividend, I get a safety stock so I can just sleep at night, and I get potential growth-wise if they monetize Shipt correctly. If they drop the ball on Shipt, that sucks, but I don't lose money because the business is still improving. I just don't make as much as I thought I could.
Yeah, Target is this retailer to me that is just like really under the radar.
Yep.
You know, like people don't even realize you can get groceries and like all of these things through Target. And I think Walmart would probably be like the biggest competitor.
Yeah, by far.
And they're probably going after them. And, you know, a few years ago, I was working for this community group and we were going outside of, we were in Brooklyn where they were proposing to build a Walmart, right? And it was one of the college jobs I had of getting people to sign a petition against Walmart to that little area. Yeah, it was like $10 an hour. Somebody came up to me and was like, "Oh, who's paying you, Target?" Like, no, you know, we're doing this, you know, whatever talking points I had. And then when, like, a couple years later, this guy who had been working for Target for a while, and I relayed to him, he said, yeah, we fund all that stuff. Legitimately.
It's brilliant, though, right?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I don't know how true it is, but if I was, you know, Target, I'd probably do the same thing if Walmart was coming in.
And the one thing I love the most is brand power. That's my thesis behind everything I do is, does it have a brand or could it create a brand? And Walmart is Walmart. Everyone knows Walmart. But Walmart has a stigma. It's known as that store where people of Walmart go there wearing their dirty, stained clothes. It's wrong to think this way, but it does possess a negative connotation. Target doesn't have that. It's the same value store, but there's a higher, more positive connotation attached to it. And I love that. Right. And that's one new purchase I made. The other new purchase.
And so how long would you hold something like Target?
I'm looking at a year for right now, at least a year. If something that's growing better comes along, or let's say Roku gets cut in half tomorrow, I'm selling Target to buy Roku. Okay. Because Roku's my number one stock. I think Roku is $1,000 stock. I'm doing that any day of the week, right?
So what's the bull case for Roku?
Advertising, right? So people think Roku is just this stick that you shove in your TV and you can watch, you know, Hulu on. But no, that's great. That creates a platform effect. But the reality is Roku is going to dominate the advertising world the same way Facebook did on the internet. Money hasn't really traveled from linear TV, from cable TV into connected TV yet, right? And Roku has this advertising
What do you mean by
platform.
That?
So a lot of the advertising money still goes to TV. It's like the cable companies and networks. They make all their advertising money. And
really?
Yeah.
Even though nobody's watching.
Exactly. And now they're realizing that because of COVID. And Roku and Amazon and even Google, because they have the Android TV, they're going to start seeing a transition from linear TV. So Spectrum, Charter, all those companies are going to lose members as they cut the cord and they move on to the platform. But what gives Roku...
Is your cord cut?
I cord cut like 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
Yeah, me too.
Why would I, right?
It wasn't even a question.
No. I try to convince my parents to cord cut every day. I go, why don't you have a Roku TV yet? What's wrong with you? And they're like, stop pushing Roku on us. I'm like, no.
And then you're like, and guys, you got to buy some Bitcoin as well.
Right, exactly. And then while you're at it, go on Pinterest too. But Roku has the advertising platform, XU, that is basically the network for connected TV advertisements, right? It's an interesting product. And Apple is doing something very helpful for Roku without them realizing it. So Apple, through IDFA and everything they're doing to change the way privacy settings work on your iPhone, and Google's doing the same thing with Android, apps aren't going to be able to collect as much data on you as they normally would. Roku uses...
What if they're apps by Google and Apple?
you have to, well, yeah, those probably are fine, right? They don't talk about that, but you'll have to give them permission to collect data on you. Roku collects data on you while you watch TV, and they do it through your email. So now they can take your email address and shift it to everything else. Basically, they can be the hub that takes your data and then sells it to the rest of the internet, essentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing I love about Roku is if you ever go on Hulu and watch a TV show on Hulu, and then you see the commercials are actually interactive.
Really?
So they'll give me a QR code, and I can scan the QR code, and I can buy that product off my phone. Or with my remote control, they'll say, click for more information, or click to see other ads, or click to see where you can buy this product and which stores.
Do you ever click for other ads?
I do it all the time because I'm a shareholder, right? I own Disney and I own Roku.
Okay.
Why wouldn't I do it?
I'm just wondering how many people are like, wow, that was a great commercial. I need more.
I don't buy anything, but I click it because I'm trying to make money myself. But I think that's the future of advertising is you interacting with the ad. And you're seeing that now too with AR advertisements. Snapchat is doing like AR ads, and Pinterest just came out with an AR ad for eyeliner. The world is changing.
I'm bullish on AR, man. I'm completely bullish on AR. I really think that when Apple comes out with their AR glasses, I think they're launching VR first, and then they're going AR. I think it's really going to be a game changer. I mean, they're going to do a high-end VR, apparently. And what's that going to do? Apple releases a product. They could charge $10,000 for it.
Yeah.
And everyone is going to want that product.
Literally.
Yeah, they're going to say, look at this virtual reality thing. You can even smell the grass, which I wouldn't be surprised. The technology exists. Yeah, so you have something like that. That changes the VR game, right? Then that happens. And you're also tailing it towards people that can probably, if they can afford a really expensive headset, they could probably afford really expensive games and experiences.
Yes.
Right? They'll probably be so much fun, and they'll probably be sharing these on social media, and people will really want to be playing it and be a part of it. So once they go AR, man, I think it's going to be a whole different world. I think 2030 is going to look significantly different than 2020, and the leap that 2010 to 2020 was going to be nothing compared to 2020 to 2030.
I agree completely.
Recognizable what we see.
And I have no position in Unity, but I love it for that reason that you just gave me. And they are like the platform that's going to enable all of that software to come to our lives. And I've become also a really big bull because you talk about 2030 and how we're going to live so differently. I've become a big bull on digital health because our healthcare system sucks and our process with medicine in general is very lacking, right?
Yes.
So I started a position in Teladoc on Friday of last week and Monday of this week, and I added to it on, I think, Tuesday and Wednesday. And I love Teladoc because I see them with a three-prong approach. Telehealth brings you into the door. So I hate going to the doctor's office. You go there, you make an appointment for 8 o'clock, and then you sit in the waiting room for 2 hours while people next to you are coughing, and you get seen at 10 o'clock. And all you got to do is show
and then
the guy
somebody
the
who just shows up gets seen right before you.
Right. And you just have this rash on your arm and you want a cream or an ointment and you wasted 3 hours of your life,
Yep.
That's miserable, right? You don't need to do that when you have Teladoc where you can say, hey, boss, what is this? And the doctor looks and tells you, or I need a refill on my asthma pump. I don't want to go there and wait 2 hours. I just tell the doctor, hey, can you help me out? And they do that.
Nice.
So I love telehealth because it brings you into the door. And that was step one for Teladoc, right? Then they made this purchase for Livongo Health, which I think Apple made a huge mistake not buying. And Livongo, if you don't know what they do, they enabled remote monitoring for chronic diseases, particularly diabetes was their beginning product, right? And I think
diabetes affects what, like 30% of the United States population at this point?
At least. That's why everyone's dying from COVID, because we're so heavily in that obese diabetes world. Right? And Livongo works with Dexcom, so they are incorporated with each other. Like, you got the Dexcom reader, you got Livongo for the remote monitoring side, where they use AI to look at your levels, to evaluate your risks, and they help create a game plan with you. I was reading this book, unscaled, and it was written by one of the venture capitalists that helped start Livongo. And he's talking about the CEO's son. And his son was in college. He had diabetes. And one night at like 2 o'clock in the morning, he woke up and he couldn't move. He felt like he was going to die.
Jeez.
But he slept with his phone right next to the bed. And Livongo, because of their software and because there's always someone watching it and the AI is there, they saw his levels were very dangerous. They called him up and he was able to answer. And they said, "Hey, are you okay?" And he goes, "I think so, but I'm not sure." They asked if he wanted an ambulance called. And he said, "I think I can crawl to the fridge." So he basically got on the floor and crawled all the way to the fridge. And they walked him through what to do to get his blood sugar back to a safe level.
Oh, wow.
And you know what, man? To me, that's changing the world. That's beautiful. So stories like that.
That's amazing.
Right. Stories like that.
And
really
it's incredibly efficient.
Yeah, exactly. And it saves the provider money and it saves the user money because you're not going to the hospital. People who use remote monitoring, people who use telehealth, they have fewer visits than people who don't. And they save money that way. And what remote monitoring also allows you to do is it allows you to have personalized medicine. So right now, you and I both have high cholesterol. We go to the doctor, depending on our levels, we probably both get, let's say 20 milligrams of Lipitor, right?
Okay.
But maybe you don't need it as much as I do because you work out all the time. You just eat too much steak and I don't, let's say,
Listen,
right?
I'm not getting high cholesterol from eating too much steak, all right?
I know.
Blood work down.
Zach's a big meat eater. He's working for big farms.
So we don't gotta get into it, all right? They don't need to know how deep in the cult that I am, all right?
I know. No, it's great. And I love being on the SatoshiAlien Twitter and see all the hardcore carnivores on it.
Yeah, we definitely we have some different tastes. So
yeah. But that's the beauty is we have unique lives and we have unique medical profiles, right?
Yeah.
I shouldn't be treated the same way you are. And with remote monitoring, we have the basis created for personalized medicine. And what I want to see Teladoc eventually partner or branch into is a genomic space to help flesh out that personalized process. And I love genomics. I'm long in Vitae. I love Personalis, PSNL. I think it's such an amazing time what you're seeing in medicine. And I think Kathy Wood and the ARK Invest team give you the best tools.
Oh, she's so hot. She knows everything, man.
Amazing. She's the best. Honestly, I wish I could be her or work for her. You know what I mean?
You want to be her?
I would love to be her, right?
I can call you Kathy,
just
bro.
be
I got
Kathy.
you.
No, but she's amazing, right? So I think with genomics, with telehealth, and with remote monitoring and personalized medicine, you have this creation of a revolutionary idea that will change healthcare forever. And to me, if Teladoc makes the correct acquisitions and continues growing Livongo beyond diabetes, beyond hypertension, into mental wellness, into behavioral health, into other chronic conditions, we have the opportunity to see Teladoc become the Amazon of healthcare. So I became a huge bull because of that, right? My base target is $100 billion market cap. My best case scenario, if everything hits, is actually $1 trillion. Now it's incredibly lofty. Odds are it might
And
not
what kind
happen.
of time frame are you thinking about? And what would the share price be about, would you say?
I figure we're at a $38 billion market cap now, roughly. You do the math. My time frame for that would be 15 years. It has to hit everything correctly. There's no guarantees, right?
Yes.
They gotta get into, I think if they bought Progeny and they incorporate fertility benefits, that would help them so much. If they expanded their BetterHelp platform, which is a mental wellness platform, so you can do therapy. If they bought Talkspace, that would be very helpful. So I want to see them just dominate the whole stack of healthcare, essentially. And if they do that, they'll get there. If they don't, I still think they could be a $100 billion market cap, just based on what Livongo gives them, right?
Nice.
So that's become my 5th largest position, and I plan on adding any dips that come up over time as well. And that's my big stock of the year. And I owe my conviction to the process that I saw Kathy Wood build that forced me to research it, because she was buying every single day for 2 months when it just kept going lower. And one of the best follows we have on Twitter, best people we follow, is Richard Chu. and his articles really helped me understand or better understand digital health and healthcare as a whole. Um, and it just, you have all these great resources, and you take what you learn from them and you synthesize it to create your own process and your own conviction. And it makes it easy where if Teladoc gets cut in half tomorrow, if I have the cash free, I'll buy more. If I don't, I'll just wait because I have conviction now. Otherwise, I didn't have it.
Well, I got a bear case for you, man. Everybody's going to go carnivore. They're going to get super healthy. And they need healthcare. It's going to be, we're all going to live till affinity, and that's how it's going to go down.
Hey, if the Green New Deal passes, you won't have cows that you can eat, bro.
Ooh, let's not go there.
I'm talking. I love the environment. I love everybody. I'm very much.
We love each other. We care more about each other than we care about our politics or anything like that. That's the important thing, and that's what allows us to have a friendship and respect each other's opinions at the end of the day.
I am completely a centrist. I'm all about, let's get everyone from both sides. Let's make a plan together, because that's how you make a better world, and that's what I want. I want to have the best world that I can live in.
Yeah, it's just less interesting, right?
Yeah, it is, right? When you storm the Capitol, that's fun to watch. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, kind of fun and scary, and I did like the Viking guy. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh man.
I think I'm very happy. If the Viking guy wasn't there, it would have been a tremendously different situation for me.
Because
I mean, obviously I'm upset at what happened. Don't get me wrong, and it is what it is. I don't really want to get into it. But the Viking guy, man,
he brings levity to the situation, because you're a nut job who's dressed like this. It's cold out, by the way.
Yeah, like what? There's so many questions. He literally got to make Idiocracy come true.
Oh, God.
Forget all the context. Forget it all. That guy's he's gonna get out of jail, and he's got to go on to do something. We gotta do something for that man.
Maybe I'm not even gonna get into it.
He should work at a theme park. I feel like he'd be real good.
Six Flags, bro. Why not, right? They got the old man. He's got to retire.
Probably keep him away from kids, though. I don't trust him around kids, but.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I think he was born in the. And I think he could have been a great, powerful entertainer for us.
Who knows, right?
Hey, who knows? Well, what? Have a show with the former president.
Yeah. What about you, though? Is there anything that you're eyeing for right now?
So what I'm looking at in terms of cryptocurrency going forward, everything kind of stems back from this one conversation I had with a colleague, and we were talking about Bitcoin a couple of years ago, and I was still hopelessly bullish, which paid off, and everybody else had gotten bearish basically because we had this whole crash, and you have a choice, right? You can kind of like sell what you have, sell all your positions, or you can double down. After making a bunch of stupid moves, I doubled down in the sense that I'm not going to look at these coins for a while. I'm not going to trade. I'm going to read. And I read the Bitcoin Standard. I read a bunch of TA books. I just took that time to like really understand what this was, what trading really is. Why do these charts do these things? After coming out of the rabbit hole a little bit, what I took away from everything was that it's really Bitcoin that's the most important thing. I don't think anything's going to replace Bitcoin, don't get me wrong, but I do see some legitimate projects in the space that are doing some really cool and amazing things. So going back to that conversation I had with my colleague, he basically said, well, what are people using cryptocurrency for right now? I said the whole thing that we said before about, currency debasement in other countries and hyperinflation. I said, fine, but what about here? You have Bitcoin, but what are you going to do with it? And at that point, I thought, yeah, correct. Like, what do you do with it? I mean, that's a valid point. I mean, yeah, there's the Bitcoin pizza, and people were taking Bitcoin for socks and, different stuff. People were selling Bitcoin. They made some, probably great money in the long run. But for the most part, you couldn't go to 7-Eleven and get a Slurpee and, scan a QR code until you can, which you can with great projects like Eco that are coming out that has this consumer app that's really going to allow people to spend cryptocurrency places they go to all the time. They're not even going to realize that they're spending cryptocurrency. That's the beauty of it. They're going to get a rate of return on the wallet. It's amazing. And then you also have a project like AMP, right, from Flexa. They're a payment processor. They're trying to rival Visa and MasterCard. So imagine going to Dunkin' Donuts, and using a fractional share of Apple to pay for your coffee. Now, I don't do that with fractional shares of stocks, but I do that with Bitcoin. So they have an app, Speedin, and also if you have Gemini, you can use Gemini Pay to go to, and you've used it too, correct?
Yeah, I've gone to Dunkin' Donuts. You can do it at Bed Bath & Beyond. If you're into buying makeup, I think you go to Sephora. There's a couple of places that will allow you, and no one even knows you're using crypto to pay, which is the best part.
And that's the most interesting thing. Yeah, they have no idea you're using Bitcoin. I've told people too. But my favorite part about this is back in June, May, I was in need of a hammock. Because when the weather's nice, I like to read, like tie a hammock up to some trees and like sit by the water and just kind of like, zone out and read some books in the sun. So I sent some Bitcoin over to the Speedin wallet, right? And I was planning on going to Lowe's and getting a hammock. Some time had passed and like I didn't get around to going to Lowe's. Bitcoin started going up. And before you know it, suddenly my Bitcoin is worth way more than when I first sent it. So now I've been, I bought the hammock. I did some shopping at Express. I've gotten coffee, 2-3 times a week. And that Bitcoin that I sent over, it was like 0.022, I think, or something like that. Has just been going strong, man. I feel like I have free money because it was really only like $100 that I sent over at the time. And it's literally feels like it's turned into infinity money. And so people get upset when you talk about spending cryptocurrency as like, yeah, you're trading away, future value. That's fine. Like I'm still buying Bitcoin. Don't get me wrong, but spending it, I mean, it kind of feels good in a way. It's especially when it feels like you're kind of getting rewarded and like getting this free money, And then if you take that dynamic and you are actually getting rewarded, like the Eco app is going to do, I mean, it's rewarding you for literally going to the same places you would shop at anyway. Places like Whole Foods, ordering things on Amazon. Pretty amazing.
And listen, what I would recommend is if your friend has to Venmo you money or has to Cash App you money, take the money and then convert it into Bitcoin, because why not? If you don't need it to pay a bill off and you can live with it, if it's $5 or $20, convert it. What do you have to lose?
Yeah, no, definitely. And if you have been in this space for a while, try to give people sats. I've done it before.
Yeah.
Every time I get somebody to do a referral code, right, and I give them my Gemini link, and we each get $10. I try to give that $10 away to somebody who's like sort of interested. And sometimes it'll be $10. I'll take $10 of Ether and I'll do it, something like that if they're just particularly interested in that. But I do try to give away crypto. I've been trying to do it for a while, and I think like somewhere down the line, even if I'm not in contact with these people, like hopefully they stuck around and they listened, and now they're looking at their account and they're super happy. I know tons of people that I have helped though reached out to me lately, and they were ecstatic, and that was really the best part about this whole bull run. I don't know if you had similar experiences.
So I've been telling people since 10,000, since 10K, and no one listened to me until it's 35K, and now it's just sitting there. I'm like, that's your call now. Like do your process. I told you when that I was, a fan of the price, and you weren't interested, but now it's 3 times the price. And I wash my hands of it, because people who are interested will be interested. People who aren't. And I read this thing where when it comes to crypto, for some reason, you need to hear about it from 3 different reputable sources. When you hear about it from 3 different people and people you respect.
3 different sources. Who said that?
I don't remember. I read it somewhere. But I think there's some credence to it, right? If I tell you to buy Bitcoin, but you're not sure, and then you go home and you find out that Jim Cramer is talking about Bitcoin, and you're like, oh, Cramer, I like Cramer, cool. And then tomorrow you talk to your accountant, and your accountant is like, oh, I just bought some Bitcoin. You might wind up buying it because of that, right?
Which accountant is doing that?
A smart one, right?
Right? A smart one, yeah. But usually it's like you're going to your accountant and like, hey, I'm into Bitcoin, and he's like, oh, man, sorry, I'm gonna have to drop you as a client, bro.
Right, dude. The taxes, all the pain. But
I don't even want to think about it. But you know what? At the end of the day, to be in a position, where this is what we're worried about, I think that's a great thing, and that's why we're really doing the show at the end of the day.
I want to believe that people can create wealth just from following themselves.
The more education we have about finances, the better off we're all going to be. You know, it's a shame that what we're kind of reduced to, and we're going to be doing it too, is these TikTok videos that are just a couple seconds, and you have all these charlatans telling people, hey, man, listen, join my paid trading group. Join my paid, picks list. And a lot of the time, or the best one that I seen was, hey, look, send me a couple of Bitcoin. I'm going to manage it for you.
No comment.
System, I never lose money, so don't worry about it. We're going to do this together.
And you know what? A lot of people are coming up with new services, new newsletters, new Substacks. Listen, have your process. If you're going to follow someone into a trade, own the trade yourself. Follow them in, do the DD, and own it. Don't just do it because they're doing it. And I wish you well. I think it's a lot of people right now. Charlatans is the best word for some. Some are good.
There's also great people.
Yeah.
The thing is, there's just a ton of people. There's a ton of people on the internet.
You know what? At some point, you're going to get abducted and everything's just going to go out of this world. And that's amazing.
Exactly. All right, guys. We could wrap up from here.
Yeah. Now is an amazing time for investing. And I love the future, and I love where we can go, not only as a planet, but specifically where America can grow moving forward. And I think we're in such a great time.
All right, guys. So if you have any questions, please reach out to us, SatoshiAlien@gmail.com. I don't know if you guys remember Tech TV, but there was a show called Call for Help, and that gave me the idea to do this show. So Call for Help was a show that when you would call up, you could get technical support questions answered live on camera, right? You could message them, email them, and they would walk you through whatever you needed. So if you have trouble with crypto things, right? If you don't know how to send things to your ledger, if you are having trouble migrating a token, we can help you out. I mean, we're not going to, manage your portfolio for you. We're not going to tell you if, we'll tell you if we think something's a scam. But
we'll try to save you money if we could, definitely.
Yeah. But we'll tell you if we don't agree with your decision. You could argue with us, that's fine too. But ultimately, if you need some help, shoot us an email.
Yeah. Book recommendations, whatever you need, we're here.
I'd love to go into Bitcoin and answer any questions people have about it. I mean, you can contact us at SatoshiAlien@gmail.com. Please hit us with your Bitcoin questions.
We're not financial advisors, so we can't help you with, should I buy something? We can't do that. But we can help you with, how do I do something? And that's
exactly
what we're here
The Satoshi Alien will help you understand technology and cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and believe you like it. The Satoshi Alien will help you understand investments and make money, so come listen to the aliens guidance. Listen to the